Welcome back, Endgame community. Thanks for watching as always. We're here to talk about our favorite running back breakouts, the guys who haven't quite hit it big yet, but we think are on pace to do so this year. These are guys you definitely want to keep an eye on in your fantasy draft. So let's get started. Chris, who's your number one running back breakout that you have your eye on?
Well, if you watched our league-winning running back videos, I talked about this guy, so I have to have him as a breakout, and that's Antonio Gibson. I know he was good last year, but he's ready to break out this year. And here's why I think this, in case you didn't watch that video. Number one, he was pretty good on the ground last year, right? He was more than good on the ground. And I think they're going to give him more work on the ground this year in a better offense that should move the ball up and down the field. This isn't going to be the terrible offense we saw last year that was winning. They were winning games with their defense and just eking out enough points to get by. With Ryan Fitzpatrick back there, with new weapon Curtis Samuel, this offense is going to move the ball up and down the field. And that means more scoring chances for Antonio Gibson, which is definitely good. But also, the big knock on him last year, the big thing that held him back was J.D. McKissic was in on third down almost every single time because they just didn't trust Antonio Gibson in pass protection. I think that changes this year. I think they're going to trust him more on third down. I think we're going to see less of J.D. McKissic on third down and more of Antonio Gibson, and that means more receptions. And that's the key here because we're talking about PPR leagues, which I believe is by far the most common league people play in. And in PPR leagues, a pass-catching running back is fantasy gold. I think Antonio Gibson can approach 50 receptions this year, and if he does, like I said in the league-winning running back video, he's going to enter the top 10, maybe even the top 5. I expect Antonio Gibson to have a breakout season this year.
Absolutely. You want that running back that's going to be as close as you can get to that workhorse, one who runs and catches, not one of these split committee kind of things. So for that reason, I'm going with Najee Harris. I know we haven't seen everything he can do in the NFL just yet. We will soon. And I know some people are a little reluctant to jump on the rookie running back train after last year. We had so many guys who kind of either busted or caught on really late and weren't worth the draft stock. I think Najee Harris is absolutely worth it. I'm getting higher and higher on him as the weeks go on. Talked about him in the must-have running back video. He's my must-have because I really think he could be that guy that even if you get him in the second round, which is about where he's going, he could be that league winner for you. This offense is going to completely run through Najee Harris. That's why they took him in the first round. This is a team that is going to go back to its ways where they lean first and foremost on their running back. Look, Big Ben isn't getting any younger. This is probably his last season. They'll give it one more shot, but look, his elbow, his arm is just not what it used to be. So they're going to try to take some pressure off him. They're going to pound the rock. And also, who's the pass catching running back from Pittsburgh? Oh, it's Najee Harris. They don't have anybody else, right? They don't have anybody that they're going to lean on. There's not somebody to come in. Whereas a guy like Jonathan Taylor, he has the ability, but we know there's a Nyheim Hines there who is a very capable pass catcher. Pittsburgh, they don't really have a guy that they're going to mix in with him. If it's going to be all Najee Harris, wouldn't surprise me if he has the biggest market share of touches at the running back position out of anybody, honestly. I think there's a couple of guys who might threaten that, but I absolutely love Najee Harris. I think he's going to break out in a big way early on. All right, let's go on to your next pick. Who's another running back you got your eye on who you think could break out?
Yeah, I know everybody, including you, were very high on Cam Akers entering the year. Obviously had that devastating Achilles injury. And now it's like everybody looks at Darrell Henderson and says, nah, he can't do it. Well, why not? I mean, if Cam Akers was worth an early or a late first, early second round pick, how is Darrell Henderson not worth a fifth or sixth round pick? What, is the talent drop off that significant? I don't think it is. I mean, you look at these guys. We only saw Cam Akers for a brief stretch. We've only seen Darrell Henderson for a brief stretch. Darrell Henderson was good last year in that brief stretch. And if you look at his college production, he ran for almost 2,000 yards. They had a similar 40 time. They had similar draft capital. So I don't think you could just say Cam Akers is significantly more talented than Darrell Henderson. Now I get it. He's not going to get 20 plus touches, but guess what? In this offense, he doesn't need to. 15 touches a week in this offense will be plenty, especially if 2, 3, 4 of them are catches, because this, I've said it, I think this is going to be a top 10, top 5 offense, which means lots of scoring opportunities for Darrell Henderson. And who are we worried about? Xavier Jones, Jake Funk? Calais Campbell, whoever they have. I mean, no, we're not worried about any of these guys. And I know we keep speculating they're going to sign a veteran. They're going to sign a veteran. Well, when? We're 4 weeks from the start of the NFL season. If you're going to bring in a veteran, you better bring him in pretty soon. You're going to bring this guy in week 3. I think the Rams are content with Darrell Henderson. I don't think they're going to run him in the ground. I think they learned their lesson from Todd Gurley. I didn't think they were going to run Cam Akers into the ground either, like a lot of people did. I think they learned their lesson with Todd Gurley. They say, hey, 15, 17 touches, that's all we need from Darrell Henderson. Yeah, they'll probably mix Jones in a little bit. Funk might get mixed in a little bit too. But that's, again, in this type of offense, that's all you really need from this guy to have a breakout season. And I wouldn't be surprised, for those of you who play Dynasty, if he is the Rams starting running back heading into next season, because if he shows anything this year, unfortunately, Cam Akers with that injury, we've talked about it, it's unlikely he's going to come back and be productive. So I think if Darrell Henderson shows that he can do it, they'll be fine just rolling with him next year. So I definitely think he's got breakout potential in 2021.
Yeah, it's hard for me to get on board with Henderson after Cam Akers. Just my heart's broken. The little pieces after that. I get it because, like you said, Henderson, you know what? He probably won't be a guy who gets a ton of touches, but in that offense, maybe he doesn't need him. So he could definitely prove me wrong. He has been good in spurts. So we'll see what happens there. I'm going to go with another rookie. And again, this is a guy who, well, his ADP is almost getting a little too rich for me. Everybody's on board with this, apparently. But Trey Sermon in San Francisco, I mean, it just seems too perfect, doesn't it? Right? The San Francisco running back, it doesn't matter who it is. You throw anybody in there, and they can be productive. I think at one point, Alfred Morris, a couple of years ago, was looking like a pickup everybody wanted because he was a San Francisco running back. So Trey Sermon, I know he wasn't an elite prospect. I know he didn't really put up huge numbers in college, but coming out of Ohio State, 3rd round pick, that's not bad relative to everywhere else. All the other running backs who got drafted this year, running backs just don't get drafted early anymore. So that's actually fairly early out of all the running backs. And they targeted him. They want him. He fits the system perfectly. He's looking good in camp. All the signs point to Sermon eventually taking over the lead role. I know he's going to split time. There's going to be Raheem Mostert and some other guys mixed in there. But again, it doesn't necessarily matter because this offense can generate fantasy points for any running back. Trey Sermon is a guy who absolutely could break out. Will he break out to the extent of a Najee Harris or an Antonio Gibson? No, I don't think he will. But you're not paying that kind of price either. You can draft him 6th, 7th, maybe even later, and you can get really solid RB2 production. So I'm looking for big things from Trey Sermon. At the same time, go with a favorite of yours, Chris. I wouldn't mind as a last round pick getting a guy like Elijah Mitchell, who might actually be just as good, if not better. But for now, I'm still pinning my hopes on Sermon. All right, give me one more running back breakout.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with a rookie. I've talked about him quite a bit lately. That's Javonte Williams. I've compared him a little bit to Jonathan Taylor in the sense that I think he's going to come on strong as the season goes on. I know right now he's competing with Melvin Gordon. Javonte Taylor was competing with Marlon Mack last year, who unfortunately also suffered an Achilles injury. Not saying I think Melvin Gordon is going to get hurt. I think early on we're going to see mostly, Melvin Gordon handling the bulk of the work with Javonte Williams worked in. But as the season goes on, we know it's been proven rookies get better and better. We see it every year. These rookie running backs, rookie wide receivers begin to take over down the stretch. And that's what matters in fantasy football. Stop worrying so much about weeks 1, week 2, week 3, especially now that most leagues are going to have an extra game. Those games early in the season become even less important. Look down the road, figure out the guys who are going to help you win when it matters. I think Javonte Williams will be one of those guys. I think at some point this season, he takes over that backfield. And like Jonathan Taylor last year, he becomes a league winner this year and breaks out. And he's the guy that will be going, in the top 3 rounds next year.
Yeah, I'm definitely on board with Javonte Williams. You know that. My last pick, I know you're probably not all the way on board with. We just talked about the importance of pass catching. Damian Harris doesn't do that. Okay, I get that. I accept that. And here's the other thing. He's a New England Patriot running back. How many years, decades have we said just avoid New England Patriots running backs? This is different. This is not the same Patriots team. If you hadn't noticed, the GOAT, Tom Brady, is not there anymore. Different style of offense. They're going to lean on the running back more. And there's also the concern, well, Cam Newton, he's the main running back there. He vultured all these touchdowns. He takes away all these carries. How do we know Cam Newton's going to be the quarterback beyond the midpoint of the season? Even to start the season, there's been a lot of reports that Mac Jones is outperforming him. Cam Newton will probably start the season as the guy quarterback, but I really don't think he finishes. I think they drafted Mac Jones for a reason, and he's going to be the quarterback, which means this is a guy that's completely opposite of Cam Newton. He has very limited mobility. He will not be taking the ball himself near the goal line. I think they really lean on the running game, primarily Damien Harris. Damien Harris has been reported to have a clear lead as the RB1. This guy who averaged 5 yards a carry, there's not a lot of running backs who could do that on a consistent basis. Every time he gets the ball, he's getting positive yards in chunks. And this is a player who I really believe, just through volume alone, will be a very solid player week in and week out. I think we see the touchdowns go up. I think we're going to see the yardage go up, of course, and the carries. So I feel pretty good about him. The ceiling might not be sky high relative to some of these other running backs, but you know, when you get to these later rounds, you're drafting him as your third running back, he can perform like an RB2, and that's the kind of player that you want. So I consider him a breakout because I do think 1,000 yards is on the table. All right, those are our running back breakouts. Don't forget to catch our other videos, including wide receiver breakouts. You don't want to miss all these potential league winners that can be yours if you play it right on draft day. All right, guys, thanks for watching.